In this video, we will talk about Paul Schafer, founder of Colonia Dignidad in Chile, known for child abuse, torture, and crimes under his sect. So make sure to watch the full video. Paul Schafer, the founder of Colonia Dignidad in Chile, led one of the most infamous and disturbing cults in history. Originally presented as a religious sanctuary, the commune quickly became a prison of fear, manipulation, and abuse. Schafer's leadership was marked by extreme control over his followers, including widespread child abuse and torture. With his connection to Chile's brutal dictatorship, Colonia Dignidad also became a center for political repression. Despite fleeing justice for years, Schafer's capture and subsequent conviction shed light on the atrocities committed within the sect, leaving behind a legacy of trauma and unresolved pain for its survivors. 1. Paul Schafer, the dark founder of Colonia Dignidad. Paul Schafer was a German-born preacher, fugitive, and one of the most notorious sect leaders of the 20th century. He founded Colonia Dignidad in Chile in 1961, presenting it as a sanctuary for those seeking religious and moral guidance. Behind this pious image, however, lay a man with a deeply sinister agenda. Schafer used his authority and charisma to manipulate and control his followers, constructing an isolated community where his every order was law. Fleeing Germany after being accused of child molestation, Schafer sought to escape justice but instead built an empire of abuse and fear. Colonia Dignidad became a microcosm of his oppressive vision, marked by secrecy, cruelty, and unthinkable crimes. His actions left a legacy of trauma that continues to haunt survivors and their families to this day. 2. Colonia Dignidad, a sect built on secrets and fear. Colonia Dignidad, located in southern Chile, was initially presented as a utopian religious commune promising peace and moral purity. However, its walls concealed a grim reality of relentless control, fear, and suffering. Schafer designed the commune to be entirely self-sufficient and cut off from the outside world, ensuring his followers were isolated from external influence. Residents were subjected to brutal living conditions, including forced labor, strict surveillance, and psychological manipulation. The use of fear and intimidation maintained Schafer's absolute authority, while outsiders who dared to investigate were met with hostility or silence. Colonia Dignidad wasn't just a cult, it was a fortress of terror where secrets were buried, and dissent was brutally crushed, allowing Schafer to operate without interference for decades. 3. The disturbing origins of Paul Schafer's sect. Paul Schafer's path to founding Colonia Dignidad began with his early life in Germany, where he cultivated a reputation as a devout preacher and community leader. Beneath this surface, however, lurked a man accused of child sexual abuse. After numerous allegations, Schafer fled Germany in 1961 with a group of loyal followers, taking advantage of post-World War II instability to escape accountability. He settled in Chile, exploiting the remote region's isolation to establish his sect. Schafer's vision for the commune was not one of spiritual growth but one of absolute control. He imposed a rigid hierarchy, separating families and indoctrinating members into his authoritarian rule. The sect's disturbing origins highlight Schafer's calculated efforts to evade justice and create an environment where his power could remain unchecked. 4. Child abuse in Colonia Dignidad. Paul Schafer's horrors. Child abuse was one of the most horrific aspects of life in Colonia Dignidad under Paul Schafer's rule. Schafer targeted children within the commune, exploiting his position as a trusted religious leader to commit heinous acts of sexual abuse. His authoritarian grip ensured that victims were silenced, either through fear, manipulation, or physical punishment. Children were separated from their parents, isolated, and indoctrinated to revere Schafer as a godlike figure, making it even harder for them to speak out. The abuse was systemic, spanning decades and affecting countless young lives. Even after Schafer's arrest, survivors continue to grapple with the deep psychological scars left by his exploitation, underscoring the immense damage caused by his unchecked power. 5. Torture and oppression. Inside the walls of Colonia Dignidad functioned as a fortress of oppression, where residents endured unimaginable suffering at the hands of Schafer and his inner circle. The commune's rigid structure ensured that every aspect of life was controlled, from daily routines to personal relationships. Those who disobeyed or questioned Schafer's authority faced brutal punishments, including beatings, starvation, and solitary confinement. During Chile's dictatorship under Augusto Pinochet, the commune's role expanded to include state-sponsored torture. Political prisoners were brought to Colonia Dignidad, where they were detained, interrogated, and tortured with the knowledge and participation of Schafer. This environment of systematic abuse and terror turned the colony into a nightmare for both its residents and external victims of its operations. 6. Paul Schafer's alliance with Chile's dictatorship. Paul Schafer's collaboration with Augusto Pinochet's dictatorship revealed the disturbing political alliances that allowed Colonia Dignidad to thrive. Schafer offered the commune as a secure site for the Chilean secret police, providing facilities for the detention, interrogation, and torture of political prisoners. This alliance granted Schafer significant political protection, enabling him to evade scrutiny for his crimes for decades. The relationship between Colonia Dignidad and Pinochet's regime exemplified how Schafer's manipulative tactics extended beyond his commune. He leveraged his connections to gain immunity, turning the colony into a hub of state-sanctioned violence. This dark partnership not only deepened the horrors committed within the commune but also shielded Schafer from accountability for many years. 7. The fall of Paul Schafer. A sect leader brought to justice. Paul Schafer's reign of terror finally came to an end after decades of evasion, manipulation, and abuse. As allegations of child abuse and human rights violations mounted, international pressure forced authorities to investigate Colonia Dignidad. Schafer fled Chile in the late 1990s, seeking refuge in Argentina. His capture in 2005 marked the beginning of his reckoning, as he was extradited to Chile and convicted of numerous crimes, including child sexual abuse and torture. Schafer was sentenced to 20 years in prison, where he died in 2010 at the age of 88. While his arrest and imprisonment brought some measure of justice, the scars left by his actions remain deeply embedded in the lives of his victims and the history of the region. 8. Legacy of trauma. The survivors of Colonia Dignidad. For the survivors of Colonia Dignidad, the end of Schafer's rule did not mark the end of their suffering. Many continue to grapple with the profound psychological, emotional, and physical trauma inflicted during their time in the commune. Survivors describe a life of constant fear, exploitation, and abuse, where Schafer's authority was absolute, and their autonomy was stripped away. Efforts to seek justice and accountability have been ongoing, as survivors demand recognition of the crimes committed against them. Despite the immense challenges, their resilience and courage in sharing their stories highlight the enduring strength of the human spirit in the face of unimaginable adversity. 9. Uncovering the crimes of Paul Schafer's cult. The full extent of Paul Schafer's crimes came to light through years of investigations, survivor testimonies, and media coverage. Journalists and human rights activists worked tirelessly to expose the horrors of Colonia Dignidad, revealing decades of abuse, forced labor, torture, and political complicity. Schafer's ability to maintain such an oppressive regime for so long highlighted the failures of legal and political systems in addressing sex and human rights violations. The uncovering of these crimes was a crucial step toward justice, ensuring that Schafer's atrocities were not forgotten and his victims' suffering was acknowledged. 10. Lessons from Colonia Dignidad. A history of abuse and control. The story of Paul Schafer and Colonia Dignidad offers critical lessons about the dangers of unchecked power, authoritarian control, and societal complacency. Schafer's ability to manipulate individuals and systems allowed him to commit atrocities on a massive scale. The survivors' ongoing struggles underscore the need for vigilance, justice, and support for victims of abuse. Colonia Dignidad's history serves as a stark reminder of the importance of safeguarding human rights and preventing such tragedies from occurring again. By learning from these dark chapters, society can work toward a future where no one is subjected to such horrors. What do you think of our video? Let me know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. Also, subscribe to our channel before you go. Thank you for watching.